Hey everybody, Robin here at Toadstool Tarot, and I have a special guest with me today. Please introduce yourself.
Hello. Hi, everyone. It is Tarot by the Pines, also known as Jason, and I am on Robin's YouTube channel live, and I am so excited to be here.
Great. And I first off, I want to thank you for being here. Secondly, I have to give credit to Regina at Regina's Tarot and Wirecraft because she came up with this idea, and I asked her if I could borrow it and run with it. And I'm hoping it's going to open me up to having more guests on the channel and get to know more tarot hosts and tarot community people. And I thought it was a really sort of fun way to approach an interview as opposed to um, just coming up beforehand with a list of questions, to put it in the hands of the cards, like let the cards ask the questions.
Mhm.
So that's what we're going to do. Let me. I'm always muddling through with the technical behind the scenes stuff. I forgot to put on comments, and I want to. There we go. I just want to welcome people in the room that I didn't know were there already. So we have Aspasia Rising. Hello, Beth. And then Gerald Tarot Stash. And Kristen Louise. Hello. And there's Jason. And Maruda. And Donna Riedler. And that's it so far. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I may be stumbling over myself a little bit from time to time because I'm not a really good multitasker, and so when it comes to chat, I have to make a point to try and remember to pay some attention to people there in the chat room. Oh, I noticed also somebody called Something Starts Ringing Tarot.
Oh, hello, hello.
Oops, sorry. I'm juggling another tab with YouTube. And there's a little bit of an echo. You have to get the thing rolling before you can turn the sound off, and there's always an awkward overlap there.
No worries.
Okay, so because I'm like looking at both chats alternately, and then one is lagging behind the other, so it's a little bit tricky. So I don't know if Something Starts Ringing Tarot. Do you know this person?
I do. That's his name is Ryan. He just started YouTube maybe a few months ago, maybe 6 or 8 months ago.
Okay. Before we get going with these, and it's like a game that the people in chat can join in as well with their responses. Would you like to say a little something about your channel, like when you started or what it's about or what you do there?
Yeah, sure. So, if you don't know, I am Tarot by the Pines. I started my channel, I believe, the beginning of the pandemic, but I've been dabbling in tarot since 2019. So, my channel is a hosh posh of VRs, deck reviews, deck walkthroughs. I got some educational videos thrown in there. My last video was about me kind of doing a deep dive on what the suit of swords mean to me, which, spoiler alert, it's my favorite suit in the tarot. So if you haven't already, check that video out. But my channel is very low key, it's very homey, it's small. So I really take pride in my channel being small and very intimate, where I can interact with everyone and just have a very uh, homey space.
Good. And I don't know about you. I love doing VRs.
Mhm.
I just did one. Are you familiar with Orsi at Dragorshi's Tarot?
Sounds familiar.
She's from Hungary, and she just did a hashtag oh no, what's it called? My favorite chariot cards or something, because we're in 2023, which if you add up the numbers is number 7, which is the chariot in the major arcana.
Mhm.
So what she did was she pulled 7 of her favorite chariot cards and talks a little bit about each one and it's what it shares with her, what is how it speaks to her. And I thought that was really fun. So I didn't know what I was going to do other than this. And so the other night I saw that that's quick and easy to do, pull 7 cards and talk about them. And well, before we went on, we were talking about Jason's favorite tarot, Everyday Witch, and how that one was really special for me because the chariot card in that one was a bit of an eye opener. It has a witch on a motorcycle, and she's at a fork in the road, and there are 2 signs, this way and that way. And I thought that's great for me. For me, the chariot is, if I had to pick a keyword for me, it would be direction or movement, but mostly direction, because a lot of times it's as much about what direction you take in order to move forward. But anyway, I'm getting onto a little bit of a tangent.
No.
Back. So yeah, hashtags. So yeah, it's fun to do hashtags. Or VRs, I guess. I don't know. Do you call them hashtags or VRs? They're video responses.
Do
Yeah.
both. Yeah. Yeah, they're always a good time.
Let's give this a shot. I'll start it off just to try an example here. And I'm using today this deck. It was originally called the Keishobu Tarot, originated in Japan in 1973, but I didn't like the card stock, even though I have an original copy. And so I was hoping somebody out there would scan the cards and make them available again on Make Playing Cards, and somebody did. And what they did was they did one as it was originally done, but on bridge size cards, which I love. I love smaller cards. And they also did a recolored version that would be more diverse in terms of changing the colors in the clothing and the skin tones and so forth, which I'm not so keen on, like changing vintage stuff to like update it or modernize it. But I get it. If people like that, it's available. I thought it was funny. The original version is all blonde Caucasians. So I kind of jokingly refer to it as the deck of the blondes. But anyway, she's calling this version the vintage blonde old fellow tarot. And then the ones that were recolored are the old fellow revived. But anyway, but that's what I'm using today. And this one's kind of a combo between a Marseille style illustration and the RWS illustrated pips, which is, I like. It's fun. It's sort of like semi-traditional, I guess. Let's see what we got here. Oh, I got the 2 of Pentacles.
Ooh, good one.
So I don't want to get too heavy with the question, but how do you handle balancing your life, the things in your life, or maybe there are 2 elements that are foremost in your life? How do you go about maintaining balance in your life or your world?
Well, balance is hard, folks. I feel like I'm constantly juggling things, whether I realize it or not. For those who follow my channel and know me, I'm a busy guy. So balancing can be tricky. It's important, but it's something I kind of don't even think about, to be honest, Robin, and I might not be answering the question properly, but um,
It's all good.
it's just, I kind of just like go through the motions. Honestly, I've been doing what I do for the past 6 years, so I've kind of been in that mindset of that going through the motions. It's because what I've always known since 6 years ago. It's just, yeah, going through the motions, honestly.
Well, when
Uh,
you say do what you do you mean occupation wise, or were you talking about something else?
Absolutely. Occupation. So I have two jobs. I typically don't have a day off. So, yeah.
Well, that's interesting when you said two jobs because we've got two coins here. So,
Hmm.
do you find difficulty in balancing between the two jobs? Are they different kinds of work? Do they challenge one another, or do you have any difficulty kind of switching gears from one to the other?
That's interesting question. I guess it's in the same realm. My main job, I work in a nonprofit organization, and then my second gig is more. Uh, it's more out there in terms of like the genre. I do commercials for live event sports.
Oh,
So it's a little different than my main gig, which is a nonprofit. Um, it's not really necessarily challenging between the two. It's just me um, trying to do a little self care and just enjoying life. But
mm.
I'm always working, so I really need to get better on doing a little self care.
Well, when I look at this card, I think, I mean, it's coins, so I think material things. And so I guess I would think generally about work versus other stuff in your life. And I've been retired for about 10 years. So work is kind of out of the picture. So then I think, okay, doing versus not doing or something, or, maybe work versus pleasure. So not so much in terms of making money to pay my rent, because that's in my retirement fund,
Mhm.
but more in terms of how do I divide my time. So, um, there are little creative projects that I do, and I guess I alternate between producing or creating stuff versus relaxing and just kind of downtime, watching videos or watching TV or reading versus making videos or creating tarots or uh, I conduct two creative writing classes, so I get to write, a couple times a week and share stuff with other people that are writing, and that's really fun. So that's kind of a balancing act for
Mm.
me. And
You're a busy bee as well.
I am kind of, but it's sort of like I don't feel like I really live to my full potential. You'd be kind of astounded at how much sleeping time I have, because it's like I thought, oh my God, I live for the day that I'm when I'm retired and I don't have to go to work and toil all day. And now I sort of waste too much of my time. I sleep way too much. And I don't really get out of the house and do a lot of things because I found that every time I go out the door, I have this habit of spending money. And it's not like a big deal, but I feel like I always have to get something when I'm out there, even if it's just a cup of coffee, or if I pass a stationery store, it's like I'll buy a pen or a greeting card or something. So it's not like I'm going rushing off to Tiffany's to buy expensive things, but somehow money always goes out of my pocket when I set foot out the door. And it's hard for me to just, take a walk out in nature. Well, not like we have a lot of nature in New York City, but even to just go sit on a park bench and take in the air and watch the birds and stuff, it's a little trickier for me. So,
Yeah. And then you got your phone and that's so accessible in buying stuff online. So it's definitely tricky when you just want to get out and enjoy nature, but you have all these things in front of you that kind of tempt you. So I understand that.
and I'm in Greenwich Village in New York City, and we do have parks, but they're not really very big where I am. But there's several little sprinklings of little parks, you know. I mean, there's the big Central Park way uptown, and I never get up there. But yeah, there's some local ones that I, go to. And remind me, because you're Taro by the Pines, where you are and what are the pines?
So I am located in Alexandria, Virginia, which is about 20-25 minutes from Washington, D.C.
Oh,
But where I'm originated from, I'm from a small town, Farmville, Virginia. It is not the game, it is a real city or town rather. And where I lived, we were surrounded by pine trees.
okay. So you're not near the pines right now, but it's sort of like it's in your
It's
name, it's in your memory, it's in your past. It-
exactly.
were the pines near water? I'm near the ocean or a lake or something like that.
So we did have mm, not necessarily a creek. It's bigger than a creek, but that was very close to my childhood home.
Mhm.
So every weekend we would go down on the pontoon boat and fish. So there
Mm.
definitely was water nearby.
So I'm guessing it was a very woodlandy kind of foresty area.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just want to check in with chat before we go to your card.
absolutely.
You can be shuffling if you like.
Sure.
uh, let's see. Uh, when we were looking at the cards earlier, Beth goes, the Grand Dame.
Uh,
We knew what he was referring to, Jason's favorite.
uh-huh.
Maruda says, I think the Druid Craft is my favorite chariot I've seen so far. And Beth likes the Anna K chariot card. Um, Kristen Louise says, just one foot in front of the other. And Beth asked Jason, I forgot, are you a Libra?
I am not a Libra. I am a Leo, even though I don't consider myself a Leo.
And Gerald says, good memory, Beth. Yes, the Two of Pentacles is my favorite tarot card. Do you have a favorite tarot card?
Um, Six of Cups.
Oh,
Simply
interesting.
because I call it the kindness card or the nostalgia card, or both kindness and nostalgia. It's just a really pretty card in terms of like the meaning, and then I like to see the different take on each artist's interpretation of that card. And I feel like we need a lot of kindness in this world.
That's interesting for me to know about. Because when we talk about tarot cards, my mind always defaults to the images in the RWS. It's like it's sort of my Rosetta Stone for what talking about the RWS.
Uh-huh.
Not everybody likes those images, but I feel like tarot is a language, and
Mhm.
it's sort of like if you're familiar with the images in the RWS, then it may be a little more helpful or easier to relate to the meanings, although from deck to deck it changes so much. But
Mhm.
when you say kindness, I mean the Six of Cups is not a card that I um, uh, feel like I fully know what it's all about. And people have often referred to it as the nostalgic card or the childhood card, or, you know, And I never equated the word kindness with it, but now you put something in my head that I will learn from and remember every time I see that card and take that into account. Because
Yeah.
I was thinking of it's in the RWS, it's one child gifting another child with this pot of flowers. And so in my head, I thought, oh, the gift card. And then I thought about is it the Six of Pentacles, I think, which I call the charity card. And
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking, well, what's the difference between a gift card and a charity card? Because both of them, it's somebody giving something to somebody else. But the charity card has that scale in it, and you're not really sure if it's give or take in there. It's like, is the person gifting those people coins, or are they taking
Uh-huh.
some back, or are they with
Yeah.
more to one than the other? So there's an inequity. There's not fair treatment in there. So
Mm-hmm.
even though they both have this kind of kindness, gift giving quality to them, there are subtle differences that you can distinguish. Well, why not just have one card? Why do you need both cards? Well, because they're different.
Right.
Kristen's oh, okay. Scheduling time off. Oh, yeah. With people having two jobs, it's hard to schedule time off. Oh, Maruda says, most important balance in my life is balancing the budget. Yeah.
Very
And
true.
Kristen says, and your radio show. I have a radio show too that I do. So that's another thing I'm busy with.
Wow.
Oh, Ange is here. Hello, Ange.
Hey, Ange.
Now, is this a different Ange? Roots and Waves? Or did she change her channel name? I'm not sure.
I think it might be a change.
Okay.
Don't know. Let us know in the comments.
Wait, Ange, the Ange I know is, I think, Tiny Trinkets and Tarot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is that Ange who's changed her name or if it's a different Ange. So let us know.
Yeah.
I think I'm living to my full potential with my fatigue and obligations. I know my limits. Beth says, my theory is if you're not in a suburb and your feet hit the pavement, you will make a purchase somewhere. Yeah, that's true. If you're out in the suburbs, you have to get in a car to spend money. Maybe you have to spend money on your car too, like put gas in it or something. One of the reasons I moved to this city was so I didn't have to depend on a car or be at the mercy of garage mechanics.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I don't own one here. The Al Tarot is amazing, says Ange. Really enjoying my copy. Oh, here's Regina. Hello, Regina. Weekend event just wrapped up, and I'm now, of course, work lurking. Time to power up on coffee. Sorry, I'm so slow at catching up with people.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Sometimes I feel like it's a blessing that I don't have too many followers, because the big channels, you have dozens scrolling by so fast, you can't catch everybody's comments and questions.
Exactly. It would be impossible to keep up with everyone.
Kristen says, I need to figure out my favorite card. I don't think I have one. And I forgot to mention mine is I call it my significator. It's the Three of Wands. And I don't know why I love it so much. I think maybe because I really like the color combination in the RWS version of it. And I love that it's a card that is a little bit of a mystery because the figure in it has his back to us. So you can't read the expression on the face. And it's for me, that card says so much about my life. That's like, yes, I've gotten this far. I've accomplished certain things, but what's my next step? There's more out there in the world for me to accomplish or do or explore, and it's all out there. And I have stuff behind me. I've gone beyond that, but I'm just pausing here a moment to figure out what I'm going to do next. And that for me is all about life. Like every day is like an experiment and an experience. So
Hmm.
I love the Three of Wands. And whatever your next passion might be,
Yeah.
Um, oh, Gerald says you don't have to have one. I just have mine because of emotional attachments when I was learning tarot. And Beth says about Leo, depending on your moon, ascendant, and other planets, Leo may have less influence on you. Yeah, I only know that I'm a Virgo, and I don't know my moons and ascendants and all that. I don't know enough about astrology, really.
Yeah, me either. I haven't done my chart. I want to, but yeah.
Oh, it's funny. Kristen says it may actually be the Empress, and she laughs because I remember a time when she really struggled with getting the Empress card, and it was like she sort of seemed to be dreading it coming up in readings. And now she's talking about it being her favorite.
That's funny.
Beth says Six of Cups is a gift based on an emotional connection. Six of Pence is more charity towards someone in need you don't necessarily know. Okay.
I like that.
And Anne says favorite cards Hermit, High Priestess, and Ace of Cups.
Ooh.
And oh, it is the same Ange. I changed my channel name from Tiny Trinkets and Tarot to Roots and Waves. Okay. Now I'm going to have to remember that. Since the name of Ange is there, I probably default to that. Trying to move forward more quickly. Oh, Ange put in the link to your channel, which is nice.
Oh,
So
thank you.
to remind me to say, if you're not subscribed to Jason, please do either now or after this live.
Thank you so much.
And Beth says, I'm September 8th, right? Me, that is. Yes, I am. Which I never think about the 8 in my birthday as relating to a tarot card, which is strength, right? 8, is that 8, number 8? I think it's strength.
I think so.
Yes, chariot, strength. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it's funny because I don't feel like I'm strong or envelop elements of strength. So I'm going to think about that and take it with me. Okay. I'm caught up. Thank goodness. Let's have your card and see what comes up.
All right. So the deck that I'm using today is not my Grand Dame, the Everyday Witch Tarot, but it is this brand spanking new Tarot of the Owls. It is a Llewellyn deck, and those who follow me know I love a Llewellyn deck. So I went ahead and shuffled quite a bit, and these are the backs of the cards. Very interesting. And the card I got was Two of Swords.
Ooh.
Hopefully you can see that clearly. So my question would be, if you had to make a choice between two different options, how would you go about making the best decision for you?
Well, I love that image actually because it looks a little bit different than the usual Two of Swords. I mean, it has that typical cross swords things, but it's not like they're out here. I'm trying to remember the RWS, whether she crosses. Yeah, I think she's got crossed arms, I believe. But that one looks almost like scissors, like it's going to decapitate its own head. So it's like,
Oh, yeah.
if it doesn't consider the right answer, it might just lose its mind.
Uh,
And I also love the protective looking wings. I guess the wings are meant to be holding the handles on the swords, but it almost is kind of like protecting that sort of decision, which is kind of an interesting
Wow.
way of looking at that, I think.
Yeah.
But for me, well, if I don't know automatically what to decide in an either or situation, I think about the pros and cons and try and figure it out. If I still can't figure it out, I often will go to my tarot cards and see what they
Wow.
have to say. And I'm not one generally for asking questions of the tarot other than just generally, what have you got to say? Or have you got any advice for me?
Mm.
Just very general. Because sometimes, even when I ask a question, it doesn't answer me directly. It goes in some roundabout manner, but there's always an answer there.
Mhm.
So, yeah, for me, I think when it comes to decision making and things I'm unsure about, I like to look at the cards because tarot always provides some kind of new perspective. Sometimes we're too close to the situation, even in an either or. And it's sort of like, well, how do I become objective in this and remove myself from the issue? And one way is by consulting tarot cards. It puts a distance between you. It's almost like having a mentor, a confidant, or a friend come in and give you advice. And often it will call your attention to things that you hadn't even considered in the equation. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I would have went with the pros and cons as well. I like making if I have to make a decision and I have time to think about it. Sometimes you don't have time to think about it where you have to make a decision like that. But if it's a uh, where I can sit down and think about it, pros and cons list always works. And I'm glad you mentioned consulting the cards because tarot is such a good tool for us to take a moment and get out of that situation that we're in. And it can just give you more clarification on what is something that you're not seeing or is it something that your mind is not actively looking at because you're so close to the situation, right? You're thinking about different scenarios, but with the cards, they can help you see other facets of each decision. When in doubt, pros and cons list.
Okay, I'm going to pull the next card, and this one is the Magician.
Ooh.
And I guess I would say, do you feel confident or competent, or are there skills in your life that you feel that you have that you feel stronger about than maybe other people around you? Or maybe I should say, um, what are your skill strengths? Or do you have any one particular thing that you think, oh, I'm really grateful that I'm good at this? What am I good at? That's
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I went to college and studied in mass media communication, where we had all these different classes about video editing, which, I know it's kind of uh, ironic to say this, but I'm more comfortable behind the camera and not in front of the camera, even though I have a channel and whatnot. But definitely, editing skills and picking that up in college, I think that is a good skill set that I have, and it's something that I mean is very beneficial because good editing can make or break a video, whether it's a YouTube video or whether it's a TV episode, a movie. Editing is a big factor on how people enjoy that media product. Um,
Now, I'm guessing that you're pretty young. So when you say you studied for this stuff, I'm guessing that it was all digital, right? Or did you actually edit on actual film? Do you go back that far?
No, I don't go back that far. Trying to think. 2006
Okay.
is, yeah, 2006. So not too far um, ago, even though it seems far. Um, but yeah,
Because
go
I
ahead.
think the fact that we have digital possibilities now, I mean, it's different when I was younger. And I mean, in my youth, we had Super 8 film and film that you had to like physically cut and edit it. What a nightmare. Now
Exactly.
you have to like learn all the things on your computer screen, I guess, to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Um,
What's funny is that you mentioned the actual film itself. I mean, those who are younger than us obviously don't know what that is. But I used to work at a movie theater
oh,
back in the days, so I would cut the film and place it together. So nowadays, you have none of that. It's all digital. So the children don't know about actual film.
so you do have hands-on experience with film then.
Mhm.
Did you ever make films when you were younger, like on a camera and edit and stuff, or no?
I I wanted to. I really did. I wrote scripts. I wrote screenplays. Just dabbling in stuff that that my, I don't know, teenager self wanted to do when I grew up, but I knew that wasn't um, a reality. It's a dream, but I did have that.
It
Hmm.
was also very expensive back then. I mean, just, a 2.5 minute reel of Super 8 was expensive. And then you had to have a camera and, a projector and then like an editing setup. It's like a lot of hardware that you had to buy. And on, teen salary or no salary, unless you were gifted this stuff by your parents. It wasn't like a hobby or a pursuit that one would go get into.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I guess you have the expense of you still have the camera, but cameras are getting cheaper all the time, and there are different levels of cameras you can use, and then so many different kinds of software, and some are more expensive than others, but some I believe you can get for free online. So it's like there's different levels of things you can do with editing. Well, you would know more about that than me, but I just think it's probably more accessible now to more people than it was previously.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a
but
digital life.
I'm going to say, in terms of, well, when I see this card, he's got all four suits, all the tools on the table. And I'm finding more and more, maybe because I'm retired and just have more expendable time, that I'm finding that I have more skills than I thought I had, and I'm accumulating more at the time, and I'm improving on them all because I sort of I go back and forth from one tool to another. I do creative writing. I've done tarot deck creating. I'm a little bit out of practice with my drawing and painting, but I love to do that. Music making. I'm hosting these writing groups, and I'm also putting together an internet radio show, and then I have the tarot channel too. I mean, I have so many things going on, and the more I do each thing, I feel like I'm a little more masterful at it. I actually went on a date last night, which was somebody I met online, and I don't go on dates very often. I hate first dates because it's always really awkward. I
Yeah.
hate small talk and like getting past that awkward point to where it's like the conversation flows naturally. But I had a really nice time, and this guy wanted a reading. You know, he knew I did tarot, and I'm not real experienced at readings. I've done a few online and groups and things, so I don't. I almost don't feel like a legitimate tarot reader, but it's good practice for me. And as long as people understand where I'm coming from, I'm open and willing to do it. So I did this reading for him, and it was a little difficult because I think he wanted, as a lot of people do, predictions, you
Oh,
know, and my mode is more like guidance, you know,
mhm.
like help you get through what's the best way to help you get through this situation or problem you're experiencing. So it's almost more like if you'd talk to a therapist or a close friend or a priest or something, you know, that's more my approach, like advisory rather than solving this issue. And this guy had very specific questions about mysterious happenings in his family and wanted to know who did what and, you know, who was responsible and all this stuff. And it's like,
Wow.
you know, I don't claim to be psychic, you know, that's not what I do. But I said, we'll give it a shot. I'll look at the cards and tell you what I see in the cards. And maybe we can have a little dialogue over that and figure out if it helps you in any way to resolve some of the issues. So it went pretty well, I think. In the end, he seemed pretty we didn't really get any concrete answers, but I think there was some good advice there, and he seemed open to the way I approached the reading. And it was good experience for me and interesting to have that dialogue and do that reading and um, just get that, you know, put another tool under my belt in doing readings for people. So
Exactly.
um, let me check back with the chat. I know I'm like dominating the conversation, so
No, you're fine.
shut me up if you need. um,
I'm an introvert, so it's okay.
I'm going to back up a little bit. The problem I have sometimes with the chat too is as it scrolls by so much, I got caught up one time, but people thought I was having a stroke because I was answering the same questions over and over again.
Oh.
The scroll had gone by and I couldn't remember addressing that. And I kept going, pulling the scroll back and answering it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what is this? Donna, I think the tarot corresponds for Virgo is the Hermit. Is that not right? I know Leo is Strength.
Mhm.
Well, that's interesting because, oh, yes. Well, you're right. Virgo is the 9th month. That's true. It is the Hermit. I was talking about the day. The day of my birthday is the 8th in the 9th month, so September 8th. So it's Virgo, but then the 8th day is Strength.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means, how Strength might apply to Virgo, but that's something I'm going to mull over a while. What day is your birthday on and what month? Oh, you said Leo, so August?
August 13th.
And 13 would be the Death card. So, oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that.
Yeah.
Death and Leo, how they interact or relate. So I'm thinking right now that as you go through the month and you have those days, that they all can be a number in the major arcana or reduced to a number that's in the major arcana, and how that might relate to the overall month. Now we get into numerology, and that's
Yeah. That's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah. Ange and Beth are Virgos. Good editing can make or break anything, any art form. Yeah. I think, in creating art, it's more about editing than anything else, really.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're painting, you put lines or brush strokes, and it's like, don't add that one, or oh, I'm going to cover that over, or I'm going to change that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, we spew out masterpieces. We have to do editing to get
Yeah.
them to where we feel is right, where we want them to be. And that's maybe the biggest creative practice,
Yeah.
art practice. Is the word splice even around anymore? Oh, like splicing
Yeah.
film. Yeah. I once had to leave a cinema halfway through the movie because something went badly wrong with the film and projector. Yeah, Donna. No, I don't even, they probably don't even use film in theaters anymore, do they? It's probably all on like laser discs or something.
Yeah. It's all digital. It's all a download.
So it's not even on laser discs. It's on in a computer somewhere.
Yep. Like a cloud.
Wow.
Crazy.
Hmm. Kristen just missed the boat for video production when she went to art school. They were still teaching how to splice from VHSs. I
Wow.
didn't even know you could do that. That's
Wow.
because in a VHS, you can't see where you are. Like film, you've got like little individual photographs.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. Beth goes, I freaking hate dating. Oh, and Beth says you would add 9 for September and 8 for the day and your year, and that's your natal card. Oh yeah, the year. Okay. Yeah. That's too much math for me right now to think about, but I can do it. You can still splice ropes. Oh, that's another thing I do. I crochet. So yeah, sometimes you're adding in new colors or new textures and editing into the fold. Okay, caught up. Sorry.
No, you're good. So the card I got next is the Six of Swords.
Ooh, I love that one.
And as you can see, there's only one owl on the boat rather than, I think it's three in the average Six of Swords, a person rowing and then the two just sitting there.
Yeah.
So I guess going to this card meaning, when was the last time you saw yourself moving from one journey to another, and how was that experience?
Wow, that's wow. That's a big question. I think I have to look back kind of far because I moved to New York City in 1978. I pretty much got right into a job that I was at for 34 years. And then I was basically forced into early retirement. So that seemed like the biggest last move, that change from, working to not working and kind of being pushed ahead with, as I'm looking at that card and I see the swords, they always say, like carrying baggage with you. I was very bitter about being forced into early retirement. It was sort of like a carrot and stick proposition that's like, if I didn't accept the meager carrot as, the severance package that they were giving me, that they would probably find a way to fire me for some drummed up cause. And so I wasn't ready to go yet, but I managed to pull it together and make it work. But for years, I was very bitter and angry. And now I've come to terms with it and feel like it was actually more of a blessing than a curse. But at the time, it just felt really unfair. And so I'm looking at all those swords and the ice flows on the water there. And it's like, it's tricky maneuvering to the other side through all this and bringing baggage with me. And the idea of an owl being wise, like how you make that transition and how you put the bitterness behind you and don't take your baggage with you. Like maybe when you get to the other shore, you just get off the boat and abandon the boat, leave the swords in it.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I think probably the biggest last change was that not working, and that was like a decade ago already. Now, these days, all my changes are small ones. I do have, it makes me think again about my Three of Wands and what's ahead and what's behind. And I'm on a waiting list for a new apartment in an artist housing community, but it was a lottery kind of deal. And so my number is still pretty high. They say I still probably have 5 years to wait. And I'm thinking,
Oh my God.
5 years? It's already been about 4 years I've been waiting. And I'm okay where I am, but it's less than ideal. And I really just want a fresh, clean start. And I think it's going to bring new, exciting things into my life. But it's this waiting. I think, my God, by the time I get this new place, I'm going to be too old to enjoy it. So that will be the next big change that I can foresee. But right now, it's like sort of keeping balance in my life with all my day-to-day little activities and trying to move forward in each and every one, like make my reading skills better, try to get a little bit better with my tarot tubing because I'm still really awkward at it and difficult with the technical end. And and then there's social interaction. I have social anxiety issues interacting with other people, and that's a little bit tricky to maneuver. And hopefully the more I do these things, they get a little easier, a little bit better.
Yeah.
So each one is kind of pushing the boat out to the other side, see how far I get. Do I make it all the way across? Am I better at rowing now than I was before? All that kind of stuff. So
I like that. I like that. I guess for me, kind of like going your route, I was forced out of a job that I really enjoyed. Um, like you, I was very bitter. I was angry, and it put me in a position where of this unknown change. Like, yes, it was a good change looking back on it, but in that moment, I was like, my world was kind of crumbling because it was my income and it was a job that I enjoyed and it was something I was very passionate about. It was working at the movie theater. Um, so I guess with the Six of Swords meaning this journey of me losing that job and then being forced to get out of that comfort zone of working in the movie business per se and going into more of like a fast food restaurant and just gaining more skills to put forth where I am now. I really believe if I didn't have that Six of Swords moment of being forced to leave, I don't think I would appreciate my work ethic that I have right now. Um, so, yeah, while it was very challenging in that moment, I'm very grateful for that change and just have to realize that change is scary, but it could lead to better things. So I'm always grateful for that.
yeah, this kind of reminds me again of my Three of Wands card situation because I feel like, I want to be more adventurous and more experimental and more open to things.
Hmm.
But I come from a place of feeling like I really need to feel secure. And so I got into a job. I said I was at this one I had a couple like very brief jobs before that, but I was at this one job for 34 years, and it wasn't 100% ideal, but it was about 86%, you know. So I was fairly comfortable. I kind of referred to it as the velvet sand trap because it was like, you know, like how sand is kind of itchy and and you get in your clothes and in crevices and it's not comfortable, but velvet is very comfortable. And so it's like it was a job that was comfortable enough that I could stay there for a long time, but not so comfortable that I absolutely was passionate about it or loved it, you know. But I felt like I needed the security, and I knew a lot of people that would move from place to place on the whim of, you know, they would just get these cheap rent places in bad neighborhoods, and then they wouldn't pay their rent, and then they'd skip out on the rent and start new somewhere. That was a big thing back in the 70s. Not me. I needed to be in a place I felt safe and secure, in a rent I could afford, and just stay there and renew the longest leases at the lowest amount so that it wouldn't go up too fast. And I just wasn't much for jumping at opportunities, you know. And I think in a lot of ways, you know, I may have some regrets that I didn't jump at those possibilities or opportunities, but I can't really complain too much. You know, I've accomplished a lot, even if maybe I could have accomplished more, but maybe I would have had more challenges and pitfalls if I'd taken those opportunities. You never know. It's hard to look back and second guess the choices that you made. And Kristen said in the chat something about would I consider a similar situation, an artist community where I didn't have to wait 5 years? Well, first of all, this one is a low income one, and it's not so much about the artist community as it is about a clean, fresh start in a new place. Because when I moved in here, they didn't even fix the apartment up. It was just, you know, it was really crappy. And I was like, you know, very young and you know, minimum wage, and actually I was on unemployment at the time, so I couldn't even afford to like fix it up or clean it up, and I furnished it off of stuff off the street. I was like in my 20s, you know, so it's like, oh, there's a nice little end table, you know, that somebody's thrown away. I can use that and drag it home. And that's kind of the way I built what I'm in now. And I'm at the stage in my life where, you know, I've filled my place with so much clutter, and it's so small that I just want a clean, fresh, new, empty space that I can afford to furnish it the way I want and just start over. So I'm waiting on that and hoping for that. But it's scary too. The idea that, you know, when I get the word, I'm going to have to pack up and move, and what an ordeal that's going to be for me to sort through my stuff and get rid of things and hire people to help me move. And
that's going to be a process.
yeah, in fact, I almost feel like I'm psychically keeping myself from getting the new place because I have such fear of the transition of going to the new place that part of me is like willing it not to happen, you know, delaying the inevitable.
Yeah.
So I have to really kind of find a way to reframe my mindset and send positive vibes. You've got that place. You've got it. You know, it's coming. You're going to get it. Get ready. You know, you can do it, you know.
Yeah. Oh.
I think I veered us off somewhere. Who did the last card? Was it me? Oh, no, you did.
I did.
Yeah, the Six of Swords. Yeah. So I don't know what else to say about that card. But the funny thing about using cards to ask the questions, and this happened to me with Regina, is you start off thinking, well, this is the answer for that card. And then you veer off somewhere else. And it's as much about the dialogue in the interview as it is about answering the question. And that's tarot too. Tarot can lead you beyond the key word in a card or a simple answer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, this is so funny. Okay, I got the Eight of Cups, which is like it's like what we were just talking about, about
Just
me
talking.
moving on to the next apartment. Uh, well, this almost echoes the same question about the Six of Swords crossing the river. It's like how
Yeah.
how do you deal with moving on, or how do you know when it's time to put things behind you and move forward or embrace something new?
Mm-hmm.
You have a different approach to what's happening in the card. Maybe it's like, I can't stand this anymore. I got to get out of here. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's
Yeah.
emotionally too much for me to deal with this. I can't, I've had enough. I'm up to here with this. I need to get out and go for a walk. No.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not sure how to pose the question, but if you can grab anything out of that card that you prompts you to respond to it.
Okay. Um, hmm.
I see also here in the moon. This is an interesting moon. It's kind of like, where do you think you're going? It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
there's like almost like an element of judgment in there. Like, you really think it's a good idea right now to walk out of the picture of your life?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Huh.
And yet, then you have the cups, which is all about emotion. So it's like maybe dealing with emotional issues and
Mm,
stepping away. How do you deal with emotional issues?
yeah.
I don't know. My question's becoming more complex the more I ponder it.
Hmm. Well, what about when do you think uh, you've you're ready to move on? When do you feel in your gut um, that you feel like it's necessary to move on?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, again, it's back about security. It's like once I feel like there are more pros than cons, and I have this sense
Mhm.
of security that things are going to be okay, I'm going to be fine,
Mhm.
then it's easier for me to move on. Like, with this move, once I get the place and I sign the lease and I figured out how I'm going to find somebody to help me pack and organize and do the actual move,
Mhm.
then I'll feel better about it. I won't
Yeah.
have so many like, what am I going to do? Panic moments. It's like,
Yeah.
I know now I've got direction, I've got a plan, I've got everything set in place. So, yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know. How would you answer your
Hmm.
own question there?
Yeah. I mean, I guess going back to the Two of Swords, like having that pros and cons list, like if
Mm,
you really have time to think about it and not being forced to actually make that decision right then and there or move on, um, make a pros and cons list. And I think at the end of the day, you have to put your happiness first. Like if
mhm,
something is really dragging your energy down and really you're not really happy, I think a necessary change is beneficial.
mhm,
Um, I think intuitively you'll know when it's time. You have to just trust your gut sometimes. And sometimes they'll pay off and sometimes it won't, but at least you took that chance and you learned from that experience.
Well, and the cups makes me think of, for some reason, about relationships, because
Mhm.
cups are emotions. Now, I haven't had any long-term relationships. I have had, very brief ones that I've moved away from, and you pretty much know when that's, when a romance is over, or when the situation requires you to move on, when it's healthier for you to move on than cling to it or stay with it. I don't know if you care to respond to that. I believe you're in a relationship, right? You have a partner or something.
Yes, we've been together almost 12 years now.
And
12
so
years in August.
I don't know if you had previous relationships before that, or if this is the first, or if you've had situations where you had to make this transition and how you dealt with. Maybe I'm getting too personal there, but if there's
No,
anything there involving things like that you want to share.
no, you're fine. Yeah, I've had relationships that didn't last long. This is the longest relationship I've been in. Um, but going back to the emotional side of it, I mean, you'll know, like you said, you'll know when it's time to move on. Um, yeah.
I'm just gonna look here. Donna says, "Oh, Kristen says, what will you be leaving behind?" My place is like, I almost want to say like a hoarder's palace. I live in I often refer to my apartment as the bus, because it's a tiny studio apartment in New York City. So it's basically one room. It's a studio, and it's 8 by 23 feet long. And a lot of people say, how could you live in a place that small? But I'm fascinated with the tiny house movement, and I actually don't need much space. For me, space is more about what you fill it with.
Oh,
And over the past 45 years or whatever that I've been here, I just keep bringing stuff into the house and filling it up more and more and more, to the point where I have stuff on the walls behind me, and then stuff on shelves in front of me. And there's basically one little walk aisle down the middle, like a bus, And so when you accumulate so much stuff, I mean, think about being in a 8 by 23-foot room and filling it with 45 years worth of tchotchkes, and not just stuff you love, but stuff you need as well. And it becomes like a Chinese puzzle. It's like I can hardly move anymore. I can't, I can't shift things even to clean properly, because there's nowhere to move stuff to get to areas to clean. Anybody who knows Quentin Crisp, my favorite saying from him was, after the first 4 years, the dust doesn't get any deeper.
uh,
And so it seems to be sort of true. I mean, I don't have like dust bunnies rolling through or anything like tumbleweeds,
uh-huh.
but it's very difficult. That's why I want a clean, fresh start. It's probably not healthy for me to be breathing in dust and stuff.
No.
But now I'm going into another tangent. But well, that was Kristen's question. Having just gone through the process of sorting and packing to move, it is difficult, but I know I would have never gone through all my stuff and decluttered otherwise, and I'm glad about that part. And Beth goes, and why do you need to leave it behind? Well, I kind of want to. I mean, actually, I don't want to take everything with me. I have this fascination with living a Spartan life and just having a few treasured objects,
Hmm.
and not just like total clutter of stuff that I don't use or work with. And I really kind of feel like, just keep my security. I'm just going to take my favorite stuff out and leave everything else behind. And I don't know what's involved in that, whether they
Uh-huh.
sue me for doing that, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, I know that he's anxious to get me out of my place so he can like refurbish it and jack the rent way up and rent it. So maybe he wouldn't mind. And it'd be worth it to me to just like forget about the security and just abandon stuff, you know, rather than just.
Rather taking it, yeah.
But I would love more than ever if I had people just show up my door with their arms out to like take stuff away. You know, like I have almost 200 tarot decks, and I basically use about 15 of them. And so it's like, just take it away. You know, I'm not using it. Take it away. You know,
Wow.
but I don't want to go through all the, you know, the inconvenience of finding new owners and shipping and packing and all those trips to the post office. And I don't want to
Mhm.
deal with all that, you know?
The process, because I'm trying to get rid of some of my decks as well. I
Mhm.
I think I have about maybe 10 or 15 that I want to like get rid of, but the inconvenience, like you said, of like finding someone to get it and then the shipping and then that whole ordeal, it's yeah, it's an inconvenience, but
They don't even make it easy here to donate stuff. Cause I thought, oh, you know, when I said people could come and get it and take it away, I
mhm.
mean, I've offered to places here, like secondhand places, would you send somebody to collect stuff that I want to get rid of, you know? And it has value. They're going to resell it, right? And they won't do it. It's like they want you to bring it to them. And not only that, they want to pick and choose through it what they want and don't want. So it's like you're putting all the work on me to give you stuff that you're going to pick the best stuff through and resell. And then what do I have to carry the rest back home again or dump it on the sidewalk somewhere? It's
Yeah.
it's aggravating. Um, I think the moon is asking, why don't you just wait until the sun comes up? In that card with the Eight of Cups. Hmm.
Interesting.
Emotional attachment to places and stuff can be hard to break, but you have to really want what you're moving towards. Oh, you know, I haven't been putting any of these on the screen. That makes things easier if I do that. I have to remember to do that. Uh, oh, I think we have a troll.
Mm.
I give him a little. God does not like the tarot, like tarot. Okay, go pray.
We've hit it big. We got a troll.
Yeah. Okay. I don't generally mind trolls unless they become really abusive to people in the chat.
Right.
You
Right.
know? Yeah. What about a homeless shelter or an organization that sets up abused women in new homes they often pick up? That's Beth's suggestion.
Mm.
Well, we have this thing here called Housing Works, which was developed around the era of AIDS. You know, people that passed due to AIDS and they needed their belongings to move on to new homes. And it's basically kind of like a Salvation Army or, you know, a secondhand shop where they would get stuff and like resell it, rehome it. And they're the ones I approached, and they want you to bring stuff in the door over the counter, and they pick what they want from it, and they just
Um,
it's easy for you, you know.
yeah.
So it's sometimes I will take things out to the local park and just leave something here or there on a park bench, and I figure, you know, somebody will take it, even if it's like somebody that doesn't want it. Some homeless person will take it and resell it, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, otherwise it's going out in the trash, and somebody might pick through the trash.
Yeah.
But maybe you could sell decks in bulk, like a used bookseller. You know?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
should do
that's
like
what I would like to do online. I mean, I've done that or tried to do that a couple times on Facebook where I listed the decks I've had, or I said, if you sell something as a lot, you
yeah.
might get full value, but it's less of a hassle to go carry one box with 10 decks in it to the post office than make 10 trips to the post office.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where were we? Was it my card or your card?
I think it's
I think it's your
the, is it mine? Okay, sorry.
I think so. Because I had the 8 of cups. Did we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
Oh, and
Okay.
I meant to set the timer because I keep my guests too long. It's about an hour and 20, and I was thinking about an hour. So maybe we just shoot for 3:30. I don't want to take up your whole afternoon.
Yeah,
So
that's fine. We'll do one card each.
okay, great.
All right, so I was hoping not to get a court card, but I did. I got the Page of Pentacles.
Okay. Are you
Um,
challenged by court cards?
I
Do they?
am, yeah, I am very intimidated by them.
Mhm,
Um, there's so many different ways you can read them,
mhm,
and I have yet to like actually sit down and study them.
mhm.
Um, but for the pages, I mean, they're kind of easier for me. So I guess my question to you is, what is something that you want to learn about or learn more about?
Mhm. Well, I think I'm comfortable in my tarot studies right now. I shouldn't even call them studies. It's just my experience with tarot. Because I watch so many channels and so many people are delving into other divination, like runes. I
Mhm.
tried runes a little bit, but it didn't really work for me. And Thoth, I'm not
Yeah.
really into Thoth. I have trouble with different kinds of systems. So I'm basically just kind of focusing on one that I'm kind of getting better and better at, hopefully. Um, I would like to be able to use um, uh, what do
Oh,
you
the pendulum?
pendulums exactly. And I have a pendulum. I have a couple pendulums I like, but I can't seem to get them to work for me, and I don't know why. Um,
Hmm.
I have a sort of a I can kind of make them you like test them out, like say yes, say no, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing it, but physically making it happen or pushing it like the planchette on an Ouija board. But, but and I can get the yes and the no out of it. But
Uh-huh.
when I ask them questions, they give me no movement at all, no answer, and I don't know why that is. But other people are studying astrology, I Ching, numerology, and there's just so much out there that I feel like I have enough to deal with in tarot right now, let alone trying to go somewhere new or do something new. So
Yeah.
I'm never say never, but for right now, I'm pretty content in what I've got to work with close to me. And I don't really feel the need to explore anything new beyond what I'm doing
Yeah.
already with my writing, the creative writing, and the tarot. Uh,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
fair. That's fair. I guess for me, I guess I'm gonna stick to tarot. Learn the core cards. Like every time I get a core card, I get really flustered because they're just intimidating to me. You could look at them in different ways, interpret them different ways, but I just need to, you know, get the core cards out of a deck and just look at it and study it. That way, I won't get as flustered when
Hmm.
they show up in a reading. But I think I handled this one pretty okay.
Yeah, people have different ideas about the court cards. Uh, um, it's funny because I love majors only decks, and a lot of people don't like them. They
Hmm.
need their minors, and they separate majors from minors and minors from courts, and it's all like three different kind of decks rolled into one. And I don't look at the deck that way. I mean, I look at all the cards in terms of the action within the card. When it
Hmm.
comes to court cards, I mean, I remember when I first started picking up tarot decks and trying to struggle my way through the little white book. They always seem to talk about choosing a significator from the court cards, and I don't do that. It's like I don't think about it so much as some actual living person in my life or my world or my reality. It's like I mostly look at a court card by what where in the hierarchy they are. Are they at the bottom beginning page or the king end, and also what the element, which suit they're in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what was that? The page of what?
Pentacles.
Page of Pentacles. And so often I go to language, even though there is a visual language, it kind of boils down to like old familiar sayings or keywords. So when I see the Page of Pentacles, for me, Pentacles is some kind of material world
Mm.
connection. And page is the start of that, or a naivete. It's like it's in the progression from not knowing hardly nothing to not being masterful as a king and knowing it all. So it's like it's at the beginning. And I actually often relate to the pages to aces, and I have a little bit of trouble there be distinguishing between those. Aces are difficult for me in that way too, because, and it's funny because the next card I pulled is the Ace of Cups, and it's sort of like aces and pages are both kind of the beginnings of something.
Yeah.
It's like I almost don't have enough meat on the bones there to figure out what it's the beginning of. It's um, Page of Coins is the start of developing something related to something material. Now, what
Right.
does that mean? Does that mean beginning to open a savings account? Does it mean it could be your body taking care of your health? Maybe. I don't know. It's a case I think where context is really important. So I would need a spread. It's not a card where I can just look at it alone and think, "Oh, I know what that means."
Yeah.
Unless there's an issue in my life that I have a context for the Page of Pentacles to relate to.
Hmm.
I don't remember. Did you pose a specific question about this that I kind of like went off the
No, you answered it. It was, what is something that you want to learn or learn more
what
about?
yeah, learn? Well, and in looking at the Page of Cups, I would say something material I want to learn. And actually, the things that I'm studying and doing with tarot, even though it sort of doesn't feel like a material thing because it's about language and communication and ideas, it is an object. It's cards, it's a deck of cards, it's images, and even though images can be ideas, they can also be an object, an icon or something.
Right.
So I guess I just really like learning more and more about ways to interpret cards.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I would like to learn how to read that card um, because court cards can be difficult, and aces and court cards for me are possibly some of the most challenging cards in the deck.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. And what about you?
Um, what I want to learn more of. Um, The core cards, I mean, I've tried learning a different system. I've tried learning tea reading. Is that what it? Tea reading? No, leaf reading. No, I think it's tea leaf reading or something like that. I get just so distracted by drinking the tea. But
I actually I used to read beer foam. I used to go to happy hour at bars, and it didn't happen until I would have a drink or two in me and I was sort of like loosen things up.
right.
And if you have a beer, I don't know if you drink beer. I don't really drink beer, but if I would drink cider sometime. It does the same thing. You get these shapes like cloud shapes on the side of the glass from the foam that's left behind after you've drunk enough of the liquid, like
Hmm.
bubbles that form on the glass, and I see images in them. And I would get to the point where I would like read them like cloud images. And that was a way of just kind of chatting up people in the bars. So it felt to me similar to tea leaf reading in a way, but it was basically just intuitive impressions of images that I saw in the beer foam. You
Uh-huh.
know, and I actually approached the same thing with uh, some of the old in history. Uh, diviners would cast bones and read the bones and stuff.
Hmm.
I have tried casting stones. So I have a little bag of pebbles, and I'll throw the pebbles down on a surface, and then I'll look at their relationship in terms of do I see a shape in there, an
Hmm.
image, a symbol, or maybe it's just a direction that the stones seem to be moving in one direction. Are they all congregated together, or are they all set apart? Are certain colored stones closer to other ones? I'll read into that. And it's just kind of opening ourselves up to new ways of communicating visuals. Like
Yeah.
you can go out for a walk and read your walk. Like what do you see when you go for a walk? Like, oh, a bird landed there. And oh, does that mean something to me? Or, what color bird is it? Or what kind of bird is it? Does that speak something to me? Or, oh, somebody dropped this out of their bag and left it on the side of the sidewalk. Does that mean something? Or if I see people behaving in a certain way. So I think it's kind of about expanding awareness and intuition. And then it's not even really specifically about tarot. It's kind of developing our sensitivities to
Yeah.
messages that seem random, but maybe they aren't random. Maybe everything that happens is a message from somewhere that's meant for us, and we just often tune them all out and don't pay attention.
Yeah. Oof.
Aliomancy, Donna says. I'm not sure. Oh, alomancy, like beer, reading beer foam. Okay. Oh, Jason, tasseography, reading tea leaves. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Beth goes, so basically, when you're tipsy, you think you can read foam. LOL. Yeah. Oh, Gerald, you asked me a question a bit back, and yes, you are free to do that if they're still here. All right, well, it's 3:29, so I can't think that's sort of perfect because mine was similar to yours, and I wouldn't even know how to ask this question because this almost feels to me like you and I got the same card, page of coins or ace of cups. They're
Hmm.
kind of like beginning something to do with their element.
Right.
And it's like page of cups, beginning of emotions,
Hmm.
connecting with emotions, starting up something emotional, maybe developing a relationship or thinking about your feelings. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure even. One thing that's always confused me about some of these standard um, Ace of Cups cards is the white dove above and the little coin or cracker or whatever it is, putting it into the cup.
Yeah.
I'm not clear on the symbolism of that. I think maybe it's a religious thing, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I'm
Maybe
not. I'm
some
not. A,
type. Yeah. Maybe it's some type of message that you're receiving within that cup. Not
hmm,
sure.
no.
Huh.
I like the way this cup is held. It's like an offering, as opposed to
Mhm.
it's not clasped like it's my cup or here. Well, it is kind of here. Take the cup because it's like it's in the palm of the hand like an offering. You know.
Yeah.
That's interesting in this one because we get the hand coming out of a cloud on one side. That's this offering is coming out of we know not where, and then you got the bird above that's sort of like bringing an offering from above, which is also we know not where,
Hmm.
and then you've got the cup overflowing with um mm, I think when I think about water or liquid and fluidity, there's an element of uncertainty there too because it's sort of formless.
Right.
So there's almost like three messages here about the unknown, but it's the unknown with relationship to emotions, I guess. Oh, Kristen says that's the Holy Spirit with the Eucharist, I believe.
Oh.
And then Maruda says, I believe that's a coin, like a wishing well.
Hmm.
And Donna says emotional potential. So, we all see different things in tarot. And I kind of agree with people when they say there's no wrong way to read the tarot
Right.
but I think basically whatever approach works for you best, as long as you're consistent with
Hmm.
it, run with that. At the same time, if you read a card a certain way every time, and one time you read it and you get some new inspiration or intuition, go with that. I don't think it means you're changing your course necessarily from what you think a card means, but it's allowing more into the meaning of the card. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Anyway, I hope that I haven't overwhelmed you with all this or taken up
Oh,
or
no, you're fine.
commandeered too much of our interview, but I think it was a fun exercise to do.
I
And did you have now you said the deck you used is new to you. Did you find it easy to work with, or what is your can you tell at this point?
Yeah, surprisingly. So I got this week, so I haven't really read with it until today. And surprisingly, it reminds me of my Grand Dame, the Everyday Witch Tarot. It's very easy to read. I mean, obviously, uh, it's made by Elizabeth Alba, so not too surprised, but I am surprised.
Wait, she wrote the other deck, but didn't, or did she illustrate it? I forget which.
Um, I think she illustrated it.
Okay. Oh, so
Yes,
the same
she
person that
illustrated it.
illustrated both of them. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, because I mentioned before we went on that it reminded me of that, and that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, Beth says illustrate. Okay. Um, yeah, Gerald's reminded me. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Jason's Tarot by the Pines YouTube channel.
Thank you,
And
Gerald.
um, oh, I was going to ask you though about the deck. What's your relationship, or how do you feel about decks with animals that feature animals?
Okay, so it's funny that you say that because okay, so first when I got into tarot, I didn't like human based decks. I was very into animal decks. So when I started reading more animal decks, and I'm like, well, I'm kind of missing something. I need that human connection. So my first human-based deck was the Everyday Witch Tarot, and then my, I guess my interests have grown where I'm kind of leaning more into the human-based decks, but I do appreciate an animal-based deck if it's done in a way that piques my interest, if you know what I mean. Um, there is an animal deck that I have. The Animal Totem Tarot is a gorgeous deck, but is difficult to work with because it focuses on the spirit of that animal, the energy of that animal, while also how it pertains to the actual meaning of each card.
Mhm.
So that's a little difficult to work with, but the art is gorgeous. Um, yeah, I don't think I answered your question. What was your question, Robin?
I guess I was wanting to know your relationship with animal decks. Like,
I,
can you work with them? Do you find them difficult to work with? Do you prefer not to do them? I mean, I have trouble with animal decks, and I don't have too many of them. For me, for me, the cards are all about human behavior because I use them as a guide. And so I need to see an action in a card. Maybe
right.
that's why I have the trouble with the aces is there's not much there but a hand holding
Mm,
something. I need to see a body moving in a direction or doing something, and
yes.
just holding a cup doesn't quite give me enough to work with. And animal decks, it's like, okay, animal behavior sometimes can relate or mimic human behavior, but
Mm,
not always. It's very different. And so I have trouble getting into that. Now, the card that you showed, the Six of Swords, there's an owl in it, but I almost feel like the owl isn't the central focus of the card. It's
right.
more about the movement of the boat across the water and the swords in the boat. So
Right.
to me, the owl is almost an afterthought. It's a symbol and it's a significant symbol, but I don't need to like puzzle through what's an owl all about or what's owl behavior, what's that trying to tell me. You
Yeah.
know, again, I default to things like owl. The owl keyword for me is wisdom. You know,
Right.
so maybe it should just be the keyword wisdom on top of the sword. Like, what's the wisdom in taking this action of crossing a river in a boat with swords that may puncture the boat and sink the boat? You know what? So it's not, I don't, and I see a lot of beautiful animal decks with, you know, wonderfully illustrated stuff, but for me it's almost like paging through a National Geographic or something. It's like a wildlife federation. It's like I can't relate to it in the same way as I do with tarot decks that have people in them, and I need to see myself in the deck. And well, I don't mean somebody that looks like me,
Right.
I just mean a human being doing
Right.
something that I could potentially be doing in my life, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's animal decks out there that have animals that are clothed and they're like holding actual items. But sometimes if it's done in a way that's like too humane, it kind of takes me out of the card because, an owl can't hold a cup. It can't, hold a sword. It can't, do all that. So I do appreciate the tarot of the owls a bit more because, like you said, they treat the owls kind of an afterthought and they just focus more on the interpretation of the card. But they strategically place the owls in a way that's not taking you out of
Hmm.
that card.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you by any chance have the Tarot of Curious Creatures?
I do.
Do you like it or not like it? So a lot of people seem to have trouble with anthropomorphic images of animals, and
Mm,
I actually am not one of them. I actually like them. I don't find them creepy. I
right.
find them amusing. And that deck, there's a lot of humor in. And for me, you've
Mhm.
got the body and the behavior, the action, the activity of a human, but
Mhm.
it's none of it is taken too seriously. Or if it's serious, it's like melodramatically, like, oh, woe is me. It's kind of
Yes.
a humorous version of misery. And it's like, it's makes it easier almost to deal with something heavy if it's kind of made light of in a comic way. And
Mhm.
so I can like take the animal heads on there and sort of add a sort of an attitude that I'm getting in the expression or the look or something
Mhm.
on that head. That generally, I love the body language in that deck.
Mhm.
Forget about the animal heads. The body language is so vibrant and amusing and entertaining. Like somebody running madly for their life,
Mhm.
or collapsed in a corner, or
Yeah.
things that they're doing with their body really reads to me.
Right. Yeah. I do like that deck. I haven't worked with it a lot since I've gotten it.
You know.
But yeah, I like the artwork. I like how it has the human figure, but it still has that quirkiness of that animal in each card. So I really appreciate the well balance of human and animal.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. I guess I should say goodbye to everybody. And several people are talking about that deck and anthropomorphic decks. But um, okay, yeah, I'm way past our hour and a half, 3:42. So I'm gonna let Jason go, and everybody thank him for joining me today. I thank you.
Yeah.
I've
Thank
had
you.
fun doing this, and maybe we've each learned a little something or picked up a little something looking at cards and how to suss out a question from a card.
Hmm.
Not only reading cards for answers, but reading them for questions. And questions lead to questions, and then sometimes they lead to answers. So,
Yeah. It
why
was a
not?
good time. It was
Yeah.
a good time.
All right, everybody. See you all soon.
Bye.
Make sure I do this right. End my broadcast before I leave the studio.